Okay, so I did my presentation on epistemology and ontology. So what is epistemology? The word epistemology comes from two Greek words, episteme, meaning knowledge or understanding, and logia, meaning science or study. Therefore, epistemology is known as the theory of knowledge. Epistemology focuses on our methods for acquiring knowledge. Basically, it is the study of how we know what we know. There are two sides to epistemology, the philosophical side and the non-philosophical side. Each category has its own subsets of epistemology. Let's start by taking a look at the philosophical side. Philosophical epistemology is divided into two major branches. The first branch is empiricism and comes from the philosopher John Locke. Empiricism is the belief that true knowledge is founded on input from our senses. Basically, there is no knowledge in our minds that did not enter it through the senses. Our sensory perception takes things in, and then we use our reasoning powers to understand what our senses observe. The second branch of philosophical epistemology is rationalism, and comes from the philosopher René Descartes. Rationalism is the belief that reason alone is the source of our knowledge. Descartes believed that we are born with an innate knowledge and can deduce truths through mental reasoning with absolutely no input from our senses. Next, let's take a look at non-philosophical epistemology. There are three main types of epistemology that do not have a philosophical side to them. The first is formal epistemology. Formal epistemology explores knowledge using formal tools from math and logic. For example, a formal epistemologist might use probability theory to explain how scientific reasoning works. The second type is genetic epistemology. Genetic epistemology is the study of the origins of knowledge. According to Jean Piaget, the development of knowledge is a biological adaptation to our environment. The third type is social epistemology. Social epistemology is the study of the social dimensions of knowledge. Social epistemology revolves around the question of whether knowledge is to be understood individualistically or socially. To put it in simple terms, can knowledge occur in an isolated setting, or does it occur through interactions with others? Okay, let's move on to ontology. Ontology is the study of being. For example, are shoes, a physical object, more real than walking, which is just a concept? Ontology is important because it allows us to ask difficult questions and to better understand the world. Like epistemology, ontology can be categorized into philosophical and non-philosophical subsets. There are two major branches of philosophical ontology. The first is ontological materialism. Ontological materialism is the belief that material things are more real than immaterial things. This concept means that reality exists regardless if humans are around to witness it or not. The second branch is ontological idealism. Ontological idealism is the exact opposite of materialism. It is a belief that immaterial phenomena are more real than material things. For example, idealism would believe that the human mind is more real than the physical brain. It believes that reality is constructed by the person doing the observing. In non-philosophical ontology, ontology is the description of what exists within a specific field. Researchers in these fields are not focused on whether the parts are real or not. They are focused on naming the parts and grouping some similar ones together. An example of this type of non-philosophical ontology would be social ontology. Social ontology describes society and its different parts and processes. It is used to understand and describe the underlying structures that affect both individuals and groups. As you can see, epistemology and ontology are very much interrelated. Ontology is focusing on what is true, and then epistemology is focusing on how we know it's true. I believe that you cannot really have one without the other. From an ontological perspective, if you believe that something exists, then it is going to lead you to looking into the epistemology of how it exists and what it proves.